Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Nerds with Friends. My name is Cody Leach, and as always, I'm joined by Christian Garcia.
Hola.
And joining us via Zoom is our new friend, Omar Najam. He's a producer, director, podcaster, a little bit YouTuber, a little bit of everything. Does that sound about right?
My God, what you're my new manager. you get 10% from now on.
Excellent. That was my plan all along. One of the things I think that that I recognized you from once Christian said he had met you was I had watched some of the Two Broke Geeks show that you had.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun. We essentially do a very similar thing here, though unfortunately we probably spend a little bit more of our money on geeky stuff, especially since we got into Magic. But we figured you're a kindred spirit in the nerd world, and glad to have you on.
Thank you. The one piece of advice that people would give me at conventions when I was doing that, everyone said, "Don't get into MTG.
Yeah,
it'll destroy your brand."
Oh man, I'm in deep with the two most expensive nerd cultures out there. I'm into Warhammer and the Magic the Gathering.
There it is.
And it's like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna be poor forever. Oh, that's pretty sweet.
Just tear the bottom of your wallet.
Yeah. I'll just send direct deposit straight to Games Workshop and Wizards of the Coast, and we'll call it a day, kind of thing.
I haven't gotten into Warhammer yet, and I don't.
Oh, you will.
I mean,
new edition coming out, Christian. The time is now.
I will borrow your minis.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people bring up the cost of entry into Warhammer, and I think that there's maybe a market out there for renting out armies.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe not even on like a long-term basis, but like, I'm thinking about playing Space Marines or Tyranids or whatever. But I want to see how they play. Like here's 1,000 points of them painted, ready to go that you can bring to your local hobby store. And you get them for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and then you can return it. And
nice.
I think that would be a cool idea. We should do that. Offset my miniature budget.
That's a really good business idea.
Yeah, I get 100% of that idea, Omar. Maybe 50 if Christian's around. So I think we split everything.
I don't know what
50-50.
I bring to the table, but I'll
but I know what you're taking
50,
from the table, and that's 50%.
That's 50%. Exactly. Well, before we forget anything, make sure, guys, you like and subscribe. Click all the little follow buttons. If you're listening to audio, make sure you check us out: iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Audible, basically anywhere you can listen to podcasts, we're on there. If you're on YouTube, of course, like and subscribe. And you can check out patreon.com/nerdswithfriends. Become a patron. Help us support us with a couple $1 dues. That way we can afford things like our wrinkly green screen or, new mixers and things like that. So we do appreciate that.
Or the Lord of the Rings Magic.
Or the Lord of the Rings Magic the Gathering set coming out.
The important stuff, the essentials.
It's content. We need it. We like to start the show, as we always do, with some nerdy confessions where we confess the things that make us nerds. Christian, why don't you lead us off?
So my nerdy confession, and I was talking to Cody about this before we started recording, I started playing Resident Evil 4. And the confession part is like, I don't remember getting freaked out as a kid playing it. I don't know if it's the graphics or the fact that I'm old. I don't know, but like, I'm like, oh, wait, I think I remember something coming up. I remember there's a big boss. Do I have enough ammo? Do I have enough health? Am I going to survive this? Well, yeah, it's just like, as a kid, I just remember, like, I'm just going to run in here and just blast away at anything that comes out, and let's see what happens. And I'm trying to see if I can bring that back. Maybe I was just more ballsy as a kid, just become more of a coward as an adult. I don't know.
You're just like checking in with everyone in the village in the beginning.
Yeah.
You're just
Is
like,
everyone good?
¿Cómo están? How's it going? I'm
don't mind me.
through.
Yeah. Church, I love it, right? It's so cool.
Sorry about that window. Yeah.
So I played a little bit of Resident Evil 4 when it first came out on GameCube. And I remember like the early Resident Evil games, I had such a love-hate relationship with that. I love the idea of them and the world and the characters and everything, but I hated the controls. Like, especially like in the Resident Evil 1 and 2 days, it was, try playing those games now. It would be ridiculous.
But I think it added to the scare factor where it's just like, all right,
yeah.
Oh, wait, they move now? They move their heads?
Yeah, they're like, oh, I literally can't go anywhere while I'm shooting. that always kind of bothered me coming from, I play mostly like an action RPG type games or first person shooters where running and gunning is everything. And the fact that you have to stop and shoot and stop and reload didn't make any sense to me. So I am glad that in this new one, you can slowly walk and reload and slowly walk and shoot. Yeah. So that's, definitely a bit of an upgrade. But yeah, it is, it's fun so far. And it's, it is one of those frustratingly hard survival horror games because you're like, my God, how many times do I have to shoot this guy in the head with a shotgun to get him to go down? Oh, bear trap on the ground? Great. I'm dead.
Great.
Yeah, that.
Oh, they've got Molotov cocktails?
Oh, cool. Cool.
See, and
why does he have unlimited dynamite? Why can't I find the dynamite?
I remember as a kid, too, like just hitting the dynamite in people's hands and watching them explode, or hitting the Molotovs and just watching them burn. I'm trying to do that now. I'm like, oh, no. Yep. Oh, fuck this. And just run backwards and like shoot them from a distance.
Yeah, I think, and I'm playing on PC, so there's like no aim assist. I need to see if there's a way of turning that on because I'm a very new PC player, and man, aim assist, I didn't realize how much I needed it. Like, God, jeez, stop moving. But yeah, it's a fun game. Definitely worth checking out, I think, especially if you're a fan of the original.
The new like little ad cutscenes were cool.
Yes.
And the graphics are amazing.
Oh, yeah, the graphics look incredible. I mean, that's definitely a reason to play it for sure. My nerdy confession. This is a deep one, Christian. So I recently, speaking of PC, I recently went to a little store in San Jose called the Tiny Keyboard Shop.
Okay.
And all they sell is mechanical keyboards. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I had heard of mechanical keyboards, and all my friends who play PC are always rave about them and stuff. And I was like, how good can they possibly be? And then I go into the shop where you can actually press the buttons. And you're like, oh, this is pretty cool, actually. And so the past 2 days, I've been on this YouTube like K-hole, just like trying to find like everything out about these mechanical keyboards. And man, that's a new level of nerd.
All right,
for sure.
For ignoramus like me,
yeah.
What?
Okay, I'm now a bit of an expert, so let me see if I can explain it. So a traditional keyboard has this like membrane underneath the keys. So when you press the button down, there's a little plunger that hits this membrane, which squishes it down onto the PCB or printed circuit board underneath.
Yep.
And that creates the input on the screen. So if you're pressing X or L or whatever. A mechanical keyboard gets rid of that membrane, and now you have these spring-loaded mechanical keys that press down and hit a button that hits the input. And so they have a much more tactile and like satisfying button click. Some people think that they're more accurate. And they
more accurate.
Well, like
sometimes you hit the K and you might instead get like a comma.
Yeah.
Oh god,
that's user error. but like because when you press the button down, there's like a tactile feedback, and so the problem is with this thing is it's like any hobby. There's unlimited options. So depending on what key caps you get, which are the things that actually have the letters and stuff written on them, you can go wild with those. You can create cool pictures and scenes and stuff with them. The different switches have different feels and mechanisms in them that feel different and sound different as you play it.
So if you want it more firm, you can do that.
Yeah.
So if you want
100%
super buff fingers, you can just...
Yeah, exactly. Or if you want something super light, or if you want something that's nice and loud, so you get the clickety clack sound.
I love that.
Or if you want it super quiet because you have neighbors who hate that clickety clack sound. There's like literally options for everything, and the bed it actually sits in too. The frame of it, if you will. You can get a real heavy one so it doesn't slide around as much as you're typing and hardcore gaming.
Or when you get mad, you want to slam your monitor.
Yeah, if you need to murder someone, you can just throw your keyboard at them. Yeah, man. So I don't know which one I'm going to get yet because all I did was press some buttons at the shop before I knew anything. But I'm definitely looking into getting one that I can swap out the switches and stuff and try out some things. But
nice.
And I do like, I found that I'm in the minority apparently in this community where I like a full keyboard with the number pad on it because I'm really good at 10 key. I think you and me both working retail and banking and stuff. 10 key is king for sure. And everyone's like, no, you don't need 10 key. I'm like, nah. Every time I need to enter any number, it's like boom, 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 boom. I don't even have to look at it.
Yeah, you don't want to look at the top and tick, 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 tick.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm,
1, 3, 5. Yeah, you don't have to do any of that stuff. So I definitely want a 10 key on it. Though you can get a separate little 10 key pad too. It sounds like you know a little bit about mechanical keyboards. Is that right, Omar? Are you an aficionado?
My youngest sibling, I am positive, has been to that shop because they are super into. Like every time I go home, there's a new keyboard.
Oh wow!
And they're just like, yeah, designed one based off of season 2 of Reboot. And I'm just like,
whoa,
okay, just
man.
Real specific.
Speaking of, Reboot needs a reboot. You know what I mean?
Reboot does need a reboot.
That was such a good show.
That's the one with the blue
people. Yeah, it was like one of the first like all CG shows out there, animation shows. That and like Beast Wars. But yeah, it's
Beast Wars is getting the live action treatment. I feel like it's time for Reboot as well.
Yeah, I feel like Reboot could be done so well. Yeah. And you look at things like The Mandalorian and Rogue One, where they've created people who look pretty dang close to lifelike. Like creating a completely CG world wouldn't be that out of the question. Get maybe the people who did Arcane to do it. God,
I still haven't seen it yet. I still have not seen it.
Can you imagine?
I can't, and it makes me sad because I know it won't happen. They're just gonna make Arcane too.
We need to go to every studio and just take a briefcase, and when we open it, it's just what you said on a piece of paper, and that's it. And we slide it across. Reboot.
Arcane 2 studio. You're welcome.
End.
Yeah, with just dollar signs at the end of it.
/ pitch.
Yeah. Man, that would be so good. Because I like the characters, and it's like another criminally underrated movie that came out was Tron Legacy.
Yes.
Like to see how that movie progressed when technology progressed.
Yeah.
And the ideas and understanding of technology progressed too, right? Because like in the original Tron, it was all about, the users are like the gods to them or whatever.
Yep.
And, what if a user got sucked inside and became a program? Okay, cool. But now with Tron Legacy, you're like, oh, we know how the internet works now. And so they just completely expanded this world. And of course, the technology made it look amazing. I was so bummed when they kept putting off all the sequels to that.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
I would just want to see a sequel just for Daft Punk to put another soundtrack for it.
Bring them back.
Get them back together. God, that soundtrack
one last
was so
job.
Good. Yeah. Like they're, one of them sitting with the helmet on, still smoking a cigarette. He's like, you son of a bitch, I'm in.
The cigarette hits the ground. It turns into pixels. Yeah.
Oh
We've got
my
the music
God.
video already.
It's so good. All right, Omar, what's your nerdy confession?
This one is wild. I was a huge Animorphs kid growing up.
Ooh, I was an Animorphs kid too. The Andalites and the what were the bad
the Hork-Bajir.
Oh, the Hork-Bajir, yeah.
The Yerks.
Oh man, is that what those little slugs were called? Was Yerks?
Yep.
Yeah.
The most absolutely terrifying concept. A lot of adults around you are taken over by alien slugs and want to take you over as well.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
Terrifying. So my confession for this, that I don't think many people. This is the first public announcement I've made about this.
Sure.
Ooh.
Nerds with Friends exclusive.
I made my own Animorphs book so I could be in the universe, and I did the cover of me turning into a frog.
Hell yeah!
I did the flip book at the bottom. It's lost to time, I'm sure. Like it's either gonna wash up on the shores somewhere in 100 years, or it's in the Indiana Jones warehouse.
Yeah, exactly. Next to the Ark of the Covenant.
Exactly. It was a fully. I want to say I wrote I folded the pages and I hand wrote them. But I want to say it was something like at least 50 pages. Was like I went for a full book.
Yeah, you went in deep for that. That's awesome. My one thing with the Animorphs, and I read quite a few of them. I was an avid attendee at the Scholastic Book Fair at my school.
Yes.
And I remember do you remember those when you got like the newspaper handouts? You're like, oh, which books am I gonna get now? Kids today will never understand that.
No, the excitement that came from it to see what was.
You could only buy books 2-3 times a year. It was when the book fair came to school. But yeah, one thing I always remembered about those books was I was always so frustrated. I'm like, Just go like touch better animals. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, go to the zoo, sneak into the gorilla cage, and like get down with the gorilla. Because they would always be like, oh, I'm gonna turn into a deer, or I'm gonna turn into this hawk and fly around. And we're like, okay, cool, but like turn into like a bald eagle or something. You know what I mean? Like turn into the best version of that animal.
Right. There was a section of what you just said that just blew my mind, where you said touch better animals.
Yeah.
Get down with a gorilla.
Get down with gorilla. Yeah, you got to. You know, in the Hork-Bajir, I remember that one had like, I think it had like Wolverine claws or something similar to it.
Yeah.
And I was like, from the beginning, when it was introduced, I'm like, dude, someone needs to touch that thing. And it took like 6 books or something for them to finally do it. I'm like, duh, touch him, touch the Andalite guy with the deer with the scorpion tail. Like, touch all of them.
You're right. They snuck into an army base one time as cows.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know that it is kids.
Sure.
The other plants, but you're right. Like, you're just like, I mean, you know.
Yeah. I like to think that I still think a little bit like a kid. If I was a kid, I'd be like, dude, where can I find a dinosaur today? Can I touch a dinosaur bone and turn into a T-Rex? Let's figure this out, you know?
Wait a second. Does it have to be a living, breathing animal, or can it be any animal?
I don't know.
Organic matter.
They never explored that in the entire series. So like, dude, let's get those mosquitoes like John Hammond did in Jurassic Park. And let's suck some dinosaur blood, you know? You know, it's gonna be luck of the draw. We don't know what's in there, but you know, it's pterodactyl would be cool.
A real grab bag animorph situation.
Yeah. Oh no, I turned into the worst dinosaur.
Yeah, I was gonna say with my luck, it'd be like one of those little tiny raptors or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was like the ankle biter things.
Like even the velociraptors were like chicken sized almost. People forget that Jurassic Park ruined our image of those.
The idea of being like, I'm gonna turn into a dinosaur. Please, 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 T-Rex. Please, 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 velociraptor. And you just turn into like that first creature that got out of the water.
Yeah,
that
just
blobby fish. And you're like, oh, I've got a speed of 0.
Just a lungfish. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Just flopping around like, no, I've made a huge mistake. Yeah, that would be the worst. Yeah. Those are good books though. That is a good nerdy confession for sure.
Thank you.
So I think we should talk a little bit about one of the current movies out in theaters now, for now anyway. Mm-hmm. We'll see how much longer it's in theaters. Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods.
Yes.
We both recently just saw that, and we know you haven't seen it yet, Omar, but we figured we'd talk about it because I think, you know, you're going to offer a unique perspective as to why maybe you didn't see it.
Right.
Now, I think I think if I remember right from the Two Broke Geeks, you're a big Green Lantern fan.
Huge.
What are your feelings on Shazam, or Captain Marvel as he was originally known?
It's so funny because it's a very different take than the comics.
Sure.
And when the first Shazam movie came out, I thought it was a really refreshing dose of serotonin to the DC universe, where I was just like, oh wow, this is like it was a Christmas movie. Yeah.
And it's fun and light, and it's, you know, everyone in it is obviously having fun. There's color in it, so it's not the Zack Snyder.
There's a little bit of saturation,
a little
bit of it. There's some, and I think there's some good goofs where Mark Strong is just doing his evil speech. And it's like, I can't hear you. You're too far away.
What? That was one of the best jokes from that movie for sure.
Yeah. It's and it was also, I feel like, and I know that it's a lot of, you know, super strength and flying, and technically it should be all stuff that feels very similar to Superman, but I think it, to me, a kid jumping and then a puff of smoke and then there's a superhero, it's new. It felt different,
right?
And so the comic book nerd in me, you know, I've been a WonderCon kid since it was back in San Francisco.
We've missed it ever since it was gone.
Much,
yeah. I feel bad for taking it down to Anaheim. As the year I moved down, it like poured it down, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I actually back when I smoked cigarettes, I smoked a cigarette with Chewbacca with Peter Mayhew out.
Really?
At WonderCon.
No way.
Yeah, it was before he died. I was like, oh, you're Chewbacca. He's like, yep. I'm like, can I light your cigarette? And he's like, yeah, sure. Like,
so you had to like go up, like.
Yeah.
That's the thing about WonderCon. Not to get sidetracked from Shazam to Fury of the Gods for too long, but that's the thing about WonderCon in San Francisco that I feel like it's hard to explain to people. Where it's just like, no, you would bump into Christopher Nolan.
Right.
Like it was just like there.
We speaking of Green Lantern, we walked into the Green Lantern panel, like, didn't have to wait in a long line or anything. And, there's Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. And it was like, oh man, it's amazing.
We didn't get the ring, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm so sorry. It was also, here's the thing. I'm gonna date myself. I'm getting gray in the beard. And this is a memory that I think you won't see at conventions anymore. And if I'm wrong, call me out. I feel like I'm a pretty avid convention goer, but at a convention the size of WonderCon, there used to be something called a free table.
Yeah.
And that's where they put, like, I have 20 The Day After Tomorrow posters, like full theatrical posters, because there was a table where they just put the stuff and they went, nerds, go advertise for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Put these up.
And what's funny is, like, because we go to Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, and it's just like this completely different animal. Yeah. And it's not for everybody, for sure. The size of it, the crowds, and the waiting in line, it's definitely an acquired taste. But that's one thing that they're missing, I think, is, first of all, stuff like that, because first of all, that table would be swarmed by people instantly, and it would just be cleaned out and a mess, and it would be garbage. So they hire people to hand all that crap out in the streets of San Diego, and it just litters the streets for 2 weeks after, I'm sure.
Entertainment Weekly.
Entertainment Weekly. And then also just, running into different celebrities and stuff. At Comic-Con, it's so common, like, you might catch a glimpse of them, but they're always surrounded by bodyguards or whatever, like ushering them through the crowds, because you have to. You can't have Chris Evans or something just walking down the street. But WonderCon, you could walk up there to them, walk down the autograph aisle. You could meet people outside walking around, and it was so much more personal, and that's like the perfect like quality for a comic book convention. They got real stars. Like, it wasn't, and not to say that TV stars aren't real stars, but I think that you can see real, like, movie stars, like huge, like Ryan Reynolds. He wasn't as big as he is now, but he was still a big movie star, and you could just walk in and see him right there, and it was so cool. So yeah, I definitely do miss that for sure.
The Q&As of a convention like WonderCon back in the day is just so zany, because now I feel like people are so versed that, like, you'll get a pretty good interview with Kevin Feige from anyone off the street.
Yeah.
Where they'll be like, okay, so in, like, constructing your different faces, what thought process? I feel like that vocabulary is there. Whereas, like, I went to, like, the Spider-Man panel, and then someone was just like, so Tobey Maguire, can you jump real tall? And he's like,
your hands really
a lot
sticky
of that's
like
movie
that?
magic. Oh, okay. Yeah, so you don't do that? No, it's a stunt man. Oh, all right, cool. Thank you.
Where do you hide all that whip?
Right.
Where's that? Yeah. Is there like a sack inside you?
Because it's a bunch of Bay Area dirtbags, and I say this with all the love in my heart as a Bay Area dirtbag.
Yeah.
It was just a bunch of salty Bay Area dirtbags just going in and being like, yeah, so I'm just kind of trying to collect my old cable comics. That's what I'm here for today. Oh, you making a Spider-Man movie? Yeah, what's that about?
What's that about? Yeah. It was an amazing time, and it was like, you just buy tickets the day of, walk right in. It was amazing, and it's hard to find that kind of stuff.
Isn't that
anymore.
Crazy that you could just go and buy tickets day of and just walk in?
It's so
no
nuts.
stress.
Yeah.
There were conventions like Hayward Con and stuff where the price of admission was a can of soup because you were donating food.
Yeah.
And then they'd be like, go in. Or you'd be like, I'm in cosplay, and they're like, sure.
Yeah, now it's like, the price of a Comic-Con ticket is a Michelin star 5-star meal. It's like, oh, $500? That seems fair. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, this is good.
Thanks for not fucking me big time, Comic-Con. I appreciate that.
This is my vacation for the year, and it's work.
Yeah. Oh, no one knows how to get into the actual convention? That seems right. Yeah.
This is good. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
the line is the city itself? Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, okay, cool. What was I waiting in line for? This is the bathroom line? Dear Lord. Okay.
When there's and you're cutting it off for the day. Oh.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
All right, fine. All right. Well, we got a little distracted. I don't even know how we got there. But anyway,
right.
Shazam.
It's like so off brand of us to just go on a tangent.
To get tangent. Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the first Shazam movie. I love the idea of also like empowering children with superpowers.
Right.
And that notion that I feel like is kind of not as much in the DC cinematic universe of like anyone can be a superhero.
Right.
I feel like a lot of it was pretty
DC
focused.
especially is a lot of, there's a lot of you were the chosen one kind of thing, or like
Exactly.
or like an extreme circumstance made you into who you are. Where that's we're admittedly more Marvel focused as nerds. One thing that I really liked about Marvel, like especially the X-Men, is like you were just born with it, and it was like sometimes it's good, sometimes it's terrible, know, and what you did with it, is whether you became a hero or a villain or just another tortured soul kind of thing. But you're right. I think that Shazam really brought some fun levity to it and a different perspective of what it means to be a superhero in that universe.
Yes, 100%. 100%. And then a couple months ago, I saw Black Adam, and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. This is like the other side of that coin." And then I did not realize that then shortly after Shazam 2 would be coming out. And I was like, I feel like I just saw these powers.
Right. And I think that's an interesting when Black Adam was announced and like, the trailer came out and stuff, notably Shazam was missing.
Yes.
And I think we were all a little confused. We're like, wait a minute. That's like coming out with, and don't get me wrong, like there is the Joker movie, which did really well. And, the second one is going to come out and I'm sure it's going to do very well as well. But it's like creating like a Lex Luthor movie where it's like, okay, I guess that's kind of cool. Or maybe not even a Lex Luthor because he's different than Superman, but maybe it's like making a Bizarro Superman movie without Superman in it.
Yeah, see, I was going to say Venom with no Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So.
And not great. I mean, they were fine.
They were fine.
Is Venom a Spider-Man movie? No. Is Venom a pretty accurate portrayal of living in San Francisco? I would say, yeah. I think it's it's pretty separated from a superhero movie. I do think it is a very San Francisco film.
Exactly. The car chase was just looking for parking because it went around the same block like 3 times.
That's the only thing I got from that scene. I was like, oh, they just went around that block.
Yeah,
like
that's the same place that sells those sandwiches. But yeah, it was so strange, I think, that they chose, and I think a lot of it came from The Rock, right? He was an executive producer, a regular producer. Like that was his movie. And I think they probably gave him a little too much control on it too. Because there was rumored to be a Shazam, I guess we should say, a little spoiler alert for Black Adam, Shazam 2. We will talk light, we'll try to keep it as light as possible. But in the post-credit scene of Black Adam, there was a Superman cameo, which I think everyone's heard about it by now because of the whole Henry Cavill fallout. But that originally rumored was supposed to be Shazam, and The Rock was like, no, I want Superman. It's me, it's Superman. We're the leaders of the DC universe. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, since when? And
he didn't want to fight a little kid, man. He wanted to fight me.
I mean,
and
like
in
Black
every
Adam
other instance, I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, Black Adam exists to fight Shazam.
Yeah.
To be a foil of Shazam. To show why Shazam, young Billy Batson, is the optimal champion to hold the powers of Shazam, and why maybe a bitter adult is not the reason why, right? Like that's why that story exists.
And it doesn't have to be, because I think the idea of that is there will be at one point a punch 'em up, right? Where it'll be like, and then it's like, who's stronger, Black Adam or Superman? And to me, that's because it's like neither of them are going to like lose. It's sort of Fast and Furious rules where it's like no one's going to like lose. But like a buddy comedy of Shazam / Captain Marvel and Black Adam, of just like, because I feel like in Black Adam there's a lot of that, like, heroes don't kill people with Hawkman, and he was like, well, I do. And I was like, yeah, but like, you okay, yeah, sure, 100%, but like we barely met the JSA, so like there's only so much that I'm just like, oh, okay, so this Hawkman does it. Whereas like we've met Billy, so the idea of Billy being like, hey, don't, no, and like Billy saving people as Black Adam is like, no, we can kill this entire base. And
Right.
I'm like, no, that makes me feel icky. Like, to me, that's so entertaining and so funny.
And then, if you have Billy as Shazam sacrificing himself like Dr. Fate does,
Yes.
and then that creating the turn in Black Adam to turn him into an anti-hero, hero, like that movie writes itself. I don't understand why we're sitting here.
Second suitcase, print out what you just said. We have to go studio to studio.
Justice Society of America is actually just a stand-in for Shazam. There you go. Please release this movie.
Because at the end, when it's like, we have to talk, and it's Superman, I was like, yeah, I remember you. You're the guy who did kill someone. That was like, that was kind of a big deal in your first movie.
Yeah, so, I did it one time, and I said, no more. Yeah. I was like, that felt bad. I don't know why you didn't feel bad about all those people you exploded.
Yeah, and then because he also killed, in Batman v Superman, he kills the villain, right?
He was technically already dead. It's the same guy.
Yeah, but it was
you know what?
It was a
Double Jeopardy.
Double Jeopardy rules. Ashley Judd's Double Jeopardy rules. That's fine.
Yeah. Also, Superman dies and then comes back, so that expunges your record anyway. He's like a new Superman.
If you die, it's your record's wiped.
Yeah.
So then you come back. Yeah, you're right.
Clean
so
slate.
maybe he's like, hey, I never did that on a technicality.
Yeah. That was the old one.
That was
the new one.
I'm new. Look at this cool black suit.
Gandalf the Grey? Yeah. Oh no, I don't know him.
Yes. Yeah, people want, that was a name they once called me, Superman.
I would never abandon Frodo. That was Grey. That was me.
Yeah. Nah, I'm cool now.
Lost to the Balrog? Nah, couldn't have been me.
Nah, that wasn't me. Man, I feel that's what's the most frustrating thing about the DC universe so far, or the cinematic universe, I should say, is that the right answer is so clear so quickly to a lot of people. Like, okay, with Batman v Superman, like you take that Martha line out of there. You take that right out of there. And then like the Justice League movie, Zack Snyder did like a decent movie, and then you just chopped it up and turned it into a pile of shit. And so it's like, it's so unfortunate with that universe that, like, it seems to me that they have all the pieces, but they're determined not to make the puzzle. You know what I mean? They're like,
I think there's too many people, like too many fingers, touching things. It's just like, it's not a clear vision. There's too many people who wanted certain things to happen.
Yeah, The Rock specifically.
You're right. It's interesting. Like, a puzzle is a really good way to put it. Like, imagine doing a jigsaw puzzle and then people were giving you notes and you're like, no, this fits together pretty.
Yeah,
like,
if you just mash them together like this.
Just take this one hammer and you just smash it together.
Yeah, it's fine.
Imagine someone being like, actually, I want it halfway through. Like, I want to do a different puzzle. And you're like, that's not how this works.
That's not how this works. Yeah, I know this is a puzzle of a bunch of puppies in a field, but I think if we smash them together, it could make a dragon. So I want to do that, please.
And you're like, no, you're using half the dragon puzzle. It won't make the full dragon. You already have half the puzzle out.
Okay, it's a dragon with puppy legs. Who cares, right? The puppy people are happy. The dragon people are happy. What do we want?
You guys, never ending story. You've seen Falcor. It's fine. People love puppy legs. Puppy dragons. People love that shit.
Wow, the accuracy of this conversation and some of the meetings I've been in, it hurts. I've been taken back.
Yeah, it's just such a frustrating space to be in. And then, so I won't spoil Fury of the Gods for you too much.
Okay.
But spoiler alert: there's no Black Adam in it. Okay, so that's a big one.
What are we doing?
Right.
What are we doing here?
It's so weird, and we see it in the trailer too, so hopefully this doesn't spoil anything. There is a brief Wonder Woman cameo in it.
Right. Yes.
But Gal Gadot was definitely not in the same room as all those other actors. It was a green screen fiasco. It was like, she goes to like touch someone's face or something, and it's like my hand like touching her face.
And it's a real Seinfeld situation.
Yeah,
she was too busy doing another song for COVID. For
exactly.
YouTube or something.
Right. Another imagined. And it was a fun movie. Like, there was fun jokes and stuff. And there was kind of an interesting message where essentially like Billy's trying to keep the Shazam family together, and they all kind of want to do their own thing. You know, Mary wants to go to college. Freddie wants to just go be his own guy, his own superhero, and get chicks and stuff like that. And, you know, Billy's just trying to hold the family together kind of thing. And that's a good take on the Marvel family, right? If you have this whole group of people who all have the same superpowers, why do they have to be together all the time, right? You know? And it's all about, you know, an analogy for growing up and leaving the house and aging out and all that kind of stuff. So that was nice. That was a good centralized, you know, message for the movie. But then, you know, the bad guy situation was like, okay, I guess, you know, these gods from another realm or something, and they want to steal everyone's powers and destroy the world for no reason. And it just, that part I think fell a little bit flat.
Right.
And again, you know, if it's a Black Adam comes in and now he's like, you know, he's like, you guys, you know, shouldn't be superheroes. I'm more powerful. I'm the Rock and whatnot. And then because Shazam can't beat him alone, he can only do it with his family. It brings the family back together, and they realize that sometimes family can come back together when you need them. You're never on your own, you know? And it's like, okay, well, that's the movie.
Third suitcase.
Yeah,
There it is.
A third suitcase. Okay.
You're so right. Because it's just, and like, you get so much from that where like, we got a little bit of like fish out of water with Black Adam where he's like, I'm in today's time. And you're like, yeah. Imagine if he left Kandahar and he was just in Philly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's rad. Like that character just navigating the East Coast.
Yeah, he's like, wait, why is my home city such a shithole? And like, you guys have these cheesesteaks and stuff. Like, why is this different? And that creates like, okay, now maybe he has a more worldly presence because he sees that the people in what's the name of his city? Kandahar?
Is it I'm gonna say, is it Kandahar? Let me
maybe.
check.
I think
I think Kandahar might Dead?
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Whatever his city.
You're right. You're right. I was thinking of Evil Dead.
Yeah, it's like
let's see.
Cancun.
Cancun?
It's Cancun.
Kandak.
Okay, there we go. We were all.
Yeah, that's the problem when you think too much about Evil Dead.
Yeah. we were dancing around it, but yeah. So he sees that his city, you know, is not a modern metropolis like Philadelphia. It seems weird to call Philadelphia that, but you know, it's obviously, you know, there's still like people living in like stone houses and stuff in his home city, and then he sees like the city in America, and he sees like how much more advanced they are, and now he's got this like global thing where it's like, well, you know, why do they have this when my city can't have this? And then there's a conflict there. Like there's a built-in conflict to him being this fish out of water, and then butting heads with Shazam.
Yeah. And that's drama. I think it's an interesting drama where it's just like, yeah. I hear what you're saying, but you are throwing buses.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so much more compelling than introducing three characters who are bad guys who their whole thing is like, hey, you know, thousands and thousands of years ago, the wizard Shazam wronged us. So we're going to take it out on this innocent city and, you know, these innocent people for no reason. It's like, okay, I mean, I guess it works better in a comic book. Like in a comic book that happened all the time. Like, especially back when like Shazam was first coming out in like the 40s or whatever it was. And because it's like, okay, people are going to pick up one issue. In this issue, there's a new bad guy and you got to introduce the hero and tell what his powers are. And he has to beat the bad guy in this one issue. It's not what movies are, right? You know, they're trying to build this cinematic universe, and it's just they're doing everything in their power not to make it feel like a cinematic universe.
Right.
Maybe James Gunn will fix it.
Yeah, it's possible. You know, I think having one centralized vision of everything will help the cinematic universe quite a bit. But you know, who knows?
Do you both think that this Shazam will carry on into whatever new iterations of the world are?
I don't think so.
I don't know. I don't have anything against Zachary Levi. I think that he does a good job of playing the character they want him to play.
Right.
And I think you're right. It's not, the Shazam I want to see is Kingdom Come Shazam, where he's like shitting on Superman and making him bleed from the ears. Like that's what I want to see. And I will say, if you do watch this movie on streaming or, in theaters, there's like 2 frames of this where Shazam is like punching and lightning's all around him and stuff, where I'm like, yes, this is what I've wanted this entire time. And then it goes back to Jokey McJokerson, which is, it's fine. It's what the movie is. But like, there's a couple glimpses of like, oh shit, he's powerful.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that, first of all, I don't know if The Rock will ever continue in the DC universe. I think he has butted too many heads, because he stopped the Shazam cameo in his movie. He also apparently, these are all rumors, so we're just gossiping here, but he also apparently kept the Justice Society, Hawkman and one of the other ones, Cyclone or whoever, from cameoing in the end credit scene of this movie, like 3 days before they were going to shoot the post credit scene. So not James Gunn, but the other guy, Peter,
I have no idea.
Whatever. The other guy who's also in charge of DC with James Gunn, who's like his directing partner kind of thing. He scrambled and got 2 people from Peacemaker, including James Gunn's wife, who played Hardcore. He got them to come in and be like, hey, Shazam, we're thinking about having you join the Justice League Society of America.
Interesting.
And so it's like, okay, so I mean, that's cool, but also they're not in the Justice Society of America. Like that was like Hawkman's deal.
Right. Because last time we saw her, she was running the prison.
Containment. Yeah, the containment under the ice and stuff. Yeah, so and apparently that came from The Rock saying, no, you can't use those characters, because he was a producer on that movie. And so like it seems like he's just trying to be a little too big for his britches. I mean, don't get me wrong, like The Rock puts asses in seats, and I like I generally like movies with The Rock in it. But the fact that he wants Black Adam to be the Black Adam and Superman to be the pillars of the DC universe just isn't realistic to me, I don't think. But I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just frustrating.
It's gonna be a real interesting next 5 years.
Yeah, 100%. I'm excited to see what happens for sure. And I don't know. I just want Shazam to be more successful, because I think, I just want a Kingdom Come movie where it's all of them fighting, and it's not Zachary Levi being like this jokey guy. I want him to grow up a little bit. Because again, and they do bring it up in this movie, I will say, he's supposed to have the wisdom of Solomon. And
I was wondering about that since the first movie. I was like, he's supposed to be smart.
Yeah, and I think, I don't remember who says it, but like Wonder Woman maybe was like, you have wisdom in your heart. And I was like, that's not how that works.
Got it.
Oh, heart wisdom. Well, that's dumb as shit, because your mind does all the thinking. You don't have the wisdom of Solomon either, I guess. But yeah, so I just want him to, and I was hoping a little bit more of that would happen in this movie, was I would want him to grow up a little bit more and mature. Like being a superhero for a while, fighting these bad guys who are trying to kill you, like that'll make you grow up pretty quick,
Because Billy seems more mature than Captain Marvel.
Right, 100%.
Which is interesting.
100%. I think that's one of the main complaints people have with this movie, or with the Shazam movies in general. It's like you have a pretty reserved, stoic kid who turns into goofball McGoofleson. It's like, okay. I mean, I guess there can be a little bit of the Spider-Man syndrome where he's more confident when he's that. So he can let it ride a little bit. But you don't have to turn him into an idiot, a bumbling idiot.
It's kind of a freakazoid situation, the way that it's played out.
Yeah, exactly. So since we're kind of done talking about Shazam, and we know Green Lantern Corps is coming out soon. What are your hopes as a Green Lantern fan for that series?
I know what I'll do is I'll speak in broad strokes, I suppose.
Sure.
What I would love, I think that everyone's like, I think the big Green Lantern is Jon Stewart, and I feel like everyone wants
Of the Daily Show, remember?
of the Daily Show. Everyone wants to focus on that Green Lantern, and you have already such a great baked in aesthetic with him being an architect and everything, that I feel like you'll understand what constructs are,
Sure.
and how those powers work. I'm a huge Kyle Rayner fan.
Yeah.
And so really kind of what I'm saying is I want this to take place after the fall of Hal Jordan.
Okay.
Any Green Lantern stuff I would love. And I know that we'll probably start with Hal. It's the origin story.
Sure.
I get it. But the idea of, John and Kyle doing stuff, and then an evil Hal shows up with a bunch of rings, and they're just like, oh, we're in a lot of danger.
Yeah.
To me sounds so rad. Like, that idea is so cool, and I think would really justify what to me makes Green Lantern so important. My favorite Green Lantern moment is when Green Arrow has to use the ring, and it's just like, is it that hard? Is it that difficult? And Hal's just like, every time, and you're just like, wow, it's really willpower. Like,
Yeah.
it really is just sheer willpower.
I think that's one thing that they've never captured that well in, like, at least in any depictions of Green Lantern I've seen on screen.
Yeah.
Is the fact that the green is the willpower color, right?
Yes.
Like, it seems like, oh, he just made a bucket of water out of green energy. It's like, cool. And he's putting the fire out with it. Great. But the idea that, and I think that gets expanded in the comics much better, is that he has to, like, completely will that into existence, which is why he can't make the most complex machines and stuff out of the Green Lantern, energy and stuff. Is like, okay, try willing all these complex parts into existence. It's like, okay, sometimes a big hammer works just fine,
Right. Yeah, it's one of the only characters where sheer will is baked into the story, and I feel like we get lots of superhero stories where at the end they go, just want it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Hit it with
Superman's
a bigger
trying
laser.
to, like, lift up the world or something, and he just
Yes.
grunts a little bit more and just does it. It's like, well,
and just does it.
okay.
Whereas, like, with Green Lantern, I feel like it's so cooked in where it's like, that is a superpower. So it is like, Kyle, what do you want? What are you fighting for? Where do you find that willpower to push through and persevere? And then you see, a really strong ring power activate, and you're like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I think that's one of those things where it's like that, when, like, especially when you're depicting Batman, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's fun to see Batman swinging around and punching bad guys and using batarangs and all that stuff. But to me, he's most interesting when he's back at Wayne Manor taking the suit off. He's got broken ribs and scars, and Alfred's there, like, stitching him up and stuff. Because it shows, like, what's at stake every time he puts on the suit. You know what I mean? And I think, the reason why we like these movies, the reason why we like Iron Man, is because Robert Downey Jr. plays a compelling Tony Stark.
Yep.
The reason why we like Tom Holland as Spider-Man is because we believe he's this young, innocent kid who's got these extraordinary powers, And I think that's one of these things that has been missing from a lot of DC stuff. Wonder Woman, you're born half a god. Cool. I mean, I guess that could be tough. I don't know.
Power to you, quite literally.
Mom won't let me train. It's like, okay, cool. And I think again, not to bring back Shazam too much, but I think that's one of the cool things that Shazam had was, it was like, oh, it was a fresh perspective on who the character was. Now, I think when I think it was James Gunn when he first announced the Green Lantern Corps show, he was saying it was going to be kind of a true detective-y feel to it. Does that sound, for you, does that sound good, or is that kind of weird?
For a show, I mean, they are like space cops at the end of the day, for better, for worse. And I think it's good to take the heat off of pulling from one particular story.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I feel like anytime we do that with comic book adaptations, us as the folks who have, like, read those books, we're kind of like, okay, we're seeing the pieces. I do like the idea of it being like a take on a genre. And I think that if that's like the way we're going in and unconsciously we're doing a lot of that, like what does the ring mean? What does it mean to be a Green Lantern? Who are these characters? I think that'll be really rad. If it is just cops with superpowers, I'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It's just
Oh,
Jon
okay.
Stewart cracking a beer and just drinking and smoking cigarettes and putting out like Matthew McConaughey in True Detective.
I'm getting too old for this sector.
Yeah, exactly.
Then I'll be like, okay.
Okay, I guess. That was a weird
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, if it is like making sense of the chaos of the universe, externally and internally, and you know, the stuff that I love from the comics with huge visuals, that'll be solid. I'm very excited. If it is just going door to door and every so often you see like a glowing green somewhere and they're like, not yet, I'll be like, it's episode 4.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, we definitely need to see some like Green Lantern powers immediately. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
By, you know, it's fine if it's by the end of the first episode, you know, that's cool. But like, it, you know, that's what people want. We want to see some people flying around, you know, making green stuff happen. But I am down to see an interesting take on what it's like to actually be, you know, a superpowered space cop kind of thing. So
yeah, because they exist. Here's what I love so much about Green Lantern. But one thing I that really draws me to those books is Superman has to. There's the whole like that Justice League Unlimited scene where he's fighting, I believe, Darkseid, and he's just like, it's so hard for me every day. I walk in a world of cardboard.
Right.
Like the difficulty for me isn't being strong; it's being too strong.
Right.
And I have to play like with kid gloves, but with you, I don't. And it's the first time you see Superman just unleash his actual power.
Yeah.
The Green Lanterns are in space.
Yeah.
They're not in a city.
Right.
They're in space. So when they can do, like, they can fly and they can create constructs and they can do super punches, so can every alien.
Right.
Like, it doesn't make them more special or more superior to anyone. They're dealing with an alien that's got 70 legs and, you know, blasts laser beams out of its mouth. And they're just like, oh, what do we do?
Yeah.
You know?
Goddamn, not again.
Yeah, exactly.
Why so many legs? Why is that so common in the universe?
And that makes those powers, like, for me, an extension of their personalities and imagination, versus a power set that's like, I am stronger than someone else. And so for that, as long as we get that vibrancy with those characters, you know, and Guy Gardner is a pervert, but if we get a nice watered down TV friendly Guy Gardner who's doing, you know, the silly Green Lantern stuff compared to the more serious Lanterns, incredible.
Sure. That would be fun. I think it's interesting too that they're calling it Green Lantern Corps, at least, you know, tentatively, because hopefully we do get to see some of that, you know, the expanded, you know, universe and the core and stuff. You know, because then it takes some of the pressure off of, oh, you know, did they do Jon Stewart justice? Did they do
right?
You know, it's like, okay, well, if the show overall is interesting and we get to meet some of these other characters from the lore, you know, we can forgive minor inconsistencies maybe with 100%. The comic characters, you know. So
if we are going for a true detective character-based thing, though, we're going to need Jessica Cruz. I feel like that character was written in to, like, Hal's like, I'm a pilot. I'm brave because I'm a pilot.
Yeah.
Whereas Jessica Cruz deals with a lot of emotional issues. And I feel like if it's going to be that thing they're going for, I think she should be a real central focus to bring that in, because what happens when you have superpowers that are an extension of you? You're in a true detective world and you're dealing with this stuff. And I feel like that's, like you kind of said a little bit before, to kind of piggyback off of that, I think that's a little bit more relatable than my mom won't let me train with other gods.
Right, exactly.
To me, it's a lot more relatable. Like, I got to show up to work, but I'm stressed today.
Yeah.
Like, what does that do?
100%. Very cool. All right, well, cool. Well, Omar, it's been really fun talking to you. And I think we've got a solid like 3-movie deal in the works now.
I can't wait to retire with you gentlemen.
Yeah, I know. I think that, you know, it's so funny because it's been kind of a running theme with this podcast over the years, where we'll either say something before it happens
and then it'll happen.
And then it happens. Like we totally, not only did we call that they were rebooting Blade, but that Marshall Ali should be Blade. Like it was the week before Comic-Con when it was all announced, surprise. And, you know, but also like rewriting things to make them better versions of what they could have been, kind of thing.
Right.
We know Kevin Feige is tapping in, taking our ideas.
He's our biggest subscriber. You know, he's the one who clicks the bell and likes every video. So
we just need
be like
DC
Kevin
to
Feige.
listen and just start taking our ideas.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not asking for a crazy, I don't want a producer credit, but just a special thanks at the end of a movie would be nice, Kevin.
A special thanks, maybe one of the hats.
Yeah, exactly. I know he's got a collection of every hat in those shitty free hats that everyone gets at the conventions. But I think, it would be great if some of these studios listen to fans like us, like you, the ones out there who are creating these things. Hey man, if they made an Animorphs, reboot
or reboot
or a reboot, they should come talk to you. I think that we'd all be better off for it if they listen to the fans more, because I think they're a little detached sometimes. And hopefully James Gunn being a fan, kind of helps this situation out. And hopefully
100%.
Hopefully the DC gets its time in the sun, because I think they deserve it.
Yeah, I agree. I love these characters. I feel like with Marvel stuff, it gets a little I felt like there was sort of nerd sides being picked and stuff like that. I have an entire shelf of DC comics. You know what I mean? I love this stuff, so I would very much like to watch stuff that I like.
Yeah, 100%. And I think
be so selfish.
No, I think you're right. Is Marvel? Yes, they're dominating the movie world, even when some of their later movies, more recent ones, have not been, up to standards, so to speak. But I think that people forget that Superman is the most recognizable, superhero out there. Maybe Spider-Man might be kind of tied for it, but Superman, he's a hard nut to crack sometimes when it comes to these movies. And, he's not the only one, right? We have, Batman we've been pretty lucky with, but the Shazams, the Wonder Womans of the world, the Green Lanterns especially, have had such a rough time of it, that they need someone to do them justice. Justice League. That was pretty good. Didn't even intend on that one. They need someone to do those characters justice and really create a world where it's the new DC movie is coming out. That's exciting, rather than let's see what pile of shit they rolled out this month, And I think they're getting better, which is a good thing. No, but they're still slipping. So hopefully they'll take some notes from this podcast and keep start making some better stuff.
Dream, absolute dream.
So where can the peoples find you?
Yeah, where can we find you? What do we need to follow?
Yeah, what a great question. I'm over on Twitter, as long as that website is going. Kind of anyone's
for now
these days. Over at Omar Najam is my handle over there. Same on Hive or any other sort of backup inflatable boat social media situation. Omar Najam Film on Instagram. And other than that, I'm popping up on D&D stuff all over the place. So kind of keep an eye out for any of those things. Daisy Quest, which will be coming out sometime in the near future. We just wrapped on that. It was an absolute blast.
Nice.
Lots of nerdy humor in that one. We were crying on set the entire time laughing. Court of Fame Flowers over on Dimension 20. Don't check that out. Bane's Break over at Pixel Circus, and just a bunch of fun stuff.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about D&D. We got so caught up in the DC stuff. We'll have to have you on again and talk specifically Dungeons and Dragons.
That's absolutely great.
Maybe when we talk about the movie, we can have you on.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. There we go. That's the tie-in.
I'm excited for that movie. It's looking pretty promising.
I know. I almost got tickets on Sunday for. They were doing an early showing, but the missus wanted to watch John Wick, so I couldn't go.
Well, yeah.
You gotta watch John Wick.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a very understandable. Exactly. But I will say, this movie is so impactful and so big. My mom texted me last night and went, "Hey, can you come home so we can watch this together?"
There you go.
This is doing good things in the world.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I think there might not be a lot of people out there who remember the 2000 Dungeons and Dragons movie. But I do.
Lots of little goblins, lots of little weird CGI goblins running around.
And the dumbest beholder you've ever seen.
Well, you can throw a rock and distract it.
And sneak up behind it. It's a floating ball with eyeballs. What are you doing? Anyway,
they were all looking
the most brutal friend fate in that movie.
Oh yeah,
out of nowhere.
Marlon Wayans, no. Yeah, that was great. Well, that's another podcast another time. Thank you, Omar, for joining us. We do appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you guys for liking and subscribing, clicking all the bells and icons and all that stuff. Checking out patreon.com/nerdswithfriends. Christian, thank you for always being the Marvel dog to my Captain Marvel. I appreciate that. And to all the nerds out there, remember, you're not alone. You're with friends. This is Nerds with Friends. Thank you. Good night.